Hello everybody, in this video I want to talk about open world games. I hear many times that people are saying that they don't really like open world games, others say that they really like open world games, but of course there are many things with the way developers create those open world games that either lead to a very boring, tedious, repetitive and uninteresting gameplay experience, while others made it so it's more interesting and fun. So what actually makes open world games fun? So before we do that, let me first share with you things that are more personal. Again, my opinion about some of the games that I did enjoy playing and why I actually didn't enjoy playing them. Of course, this might differ and you might find them exciting. Because again, one game doesn't mean that is boring to me, doesn't mean that it will bore you. And you might actually enjoy it and you might like other things that I don't enjoy in open world games, but you do. For example, the repetitive task of capturing camps, for example, in Far Cry games, or in No Man's Sky, just feeling that there are lots of variety, but everything is more or less of the same. Horizon Forbidden Dawn, which I played, which I got bored because I found the theme not to be interesting to my liking. On the other end, for example, the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim was actually a really great theme that I really enjoy exploring the world, traversing through, and find all these hidden secrets. The same goes to games like Cyberpunk 2077. I just love the world. I really felt that this is the world that I just enjoy being in. If there was something like a virtual space that I really want to switch and be in and spend a lot of time in instead of my reality, probably Cyberpunk 2077 would be it. So even with all the issues that the game had, especially at launch, the pros outweigh the cons, and I actually really enjoy playing this game and being in that world. Now the thing is that some of the things of course are subjective. That means that, for example, if I like a specific thing and find it compelling, you might find it not compelling. But again, one thing I know for sure, that if it has a compelling theme, is something that can really make me enjoy the game, and probably many others. So the concept of having a compelling thing is something that can be important for one person to enjoy a specific game. Now of course it's a combination of several things, because you can have a kind of a generic boring looking world like in Pokemon Arceus, which I didn't like, but still I had a lot of fun because other things were designed correctly. So sometimes again it's a good balance between several things, and if some player doesn't connect with something, others players might. And the thing is that this can lead to developers try to do many things. So if something in this open world design is not actually in favor of a certain group, another group might find interesting, so they try to add many things. Sometimes it leads to kind of a bloat of so many things that you just feel like open world game doesn't know what they want to be. So the goal is just to make sure you put some good ingredients there, but you mix it up well to create a nice dish. So let's talk about these things that actually can make open world games more interesting, fun, engaging, immersive, and so on. Now there are many things that are kind of very common to many open world games. For example, we can talk about weather or daytime shifting, right? When you can see day and night, this makes the world feels more dynamic and changing and more kind of realistic, similar to our world. And you see this, for example, like in Pokemon Arceus, where in different, for example, weather condition, time, or whether if there is rain, for example, you're going to see other creatures spawning in the world. This makes you enjoy traversing the world in different time of the day or weather condition, or especially when they appear, because you know you're going to find something else. So although you actually move and traverse through the same terrain, there's some excitement of discovering something new. Now there are also dynamic events, and of course this is not new to open world games. It was made so there's always this anticipation for something great. So in Pokemon Arceus you have those rifts where there are rare Pokemon that can spawn. It's always exciting, you can actually spot them from far, and it really makes it exciting to just traverse the walls, because you know a kind of a little surprise is going to await you. Just by traveling, you don't actually need to do anything special. It will be there, it will surprise you, and it will be exciting. Now, giving players creative options to interact or deform the world proved to be a really great option. Now, I personally love creativity, and of course, when you have games, you have more freedom of actually creating things without actually destroying anything. Now, if you deform the world, it's kind of you make it your own, and in some way it increases the bond with the virtual space as well. In many, for example, MMOs, you have the option to create your own home, or for example, in No Man's Sky, you create your own base. You can just kind of put something there that you just feel very connected with. This is your own area, your own land, and your own home in this amazing, beautiful virtual world. This has become, of course, more exciting and enhanced in multiplayer games where you can play with friends, you can invite them to visit your home, even in the games like Animal Crossing New Horizons. When I create my little home, play things there, and I see people just enjoy sharing it. It's a little island where you just can create everything you like in this little space, and people just enjoy sharing what they create, whether we just putting textures or arranging different things in the environment. We've seen this also in the game Sims. One of the things that I personally really like is the ability to deform the place, right? Make some really cool, a bit elevated areas and just make it your own, basically. Make it your own home. It's kind of a, let's say, a decoration game. But again, it feels very, very, very personal. Now, of course, when it comes to open world games, one of the most important things is the exploration, but not just the exploration itself, but make it rewarding. So having exciting discoveries like hidden areas, those that are maybe hard to discover, and when you find them, you get excited and you really want to share them. Look what I found! Or maybe some Easter eggs and some collectibles. This is something the players really enjoy. In a way, it gives you a sense of accomplishment, and sometimes you just want to find out if you are the first ever to actually find this area, and you immediately want to share to see if it's indeed the case. I see this in many times where players just enjoy sharing their discoveries, although probably don't realize that many other players already discovered them, but still they get excited by just sharing, hey, look what I found. And personally, that's what I did when I find this area in the game Cyberpunk 2077. In some games, they try to kind of encompass a certain area relatively limited. They can give you, for example, tools that allows you to unlock other areas that you previously visited, but they weren't accessible until you got kind of a special tool or ability to be able to access them. This encourages backtracking and make backtracking kind of less stages, so you know there's something there, something exciting waiting for you. Now, a world without actually having interaction, especially with a game where you can't actually play with others, will be kind of boring, right? So the interaction with NPCs in games can really enhance the gameplay experience in open world games. You can talk with NPCs to entail the narrative, or maybe they're going to worry for something. And the best thing comes when you can actually emotionally connect with the character. This, of course, needs to be backed up in some situations, of course, with good voice acting, good animations, and make it kind of convincing. But again, the better you do it, the more you find players actually really exciting to meet certain NPCs compared to others that feel like, well, it's just like, go here, fetch that, come back, I'll give you something. For example, in Cyberpunk 2077, there are so memorable characters that actually make me feel so excited exploring the world and traversing through it, because there are so many exciting characters to meet, and the dialogue actually felt really full, interesting, and exciting compared to other ones. It just felt like, alright, just gonna skip everything, I don't want to hear anything. And of course, all of this is enhanced with a proper narrative. Yeah, NPCs, very important for me personally, and again, this can really enhance the game. It's beautifully done in the game Cyberpunk 2077. Now, there are many situations where you play a single-player game, or you can play with friends, or you don't want to play with friends, and companions actually is a great thing. It can be a mount you can ride on, or just something that comes along you and help you in a battle, for example. And again, this is something like in real life. You don't feel lonely, and especially with a pad that can actually have something very meaningful in the game, like its own stat, you can actually upgrade it, find items for it. That can be really cool. Now, this can be easily overlooked, but having immersive audio and sound effects, background music, especially one with positional 3D audio, can really enhance the gameplay experience. Now, even here in Cyberpunk 2077, look at the beautiful world, but it's further enhanced much more with the ambient sound. You hear everything in the background, especially if the sound effects are nailed correctly. You just feel more alive and exciting to explore. Now, a proper map design is very important. There are of course many things that fall under this category. For example, having a wall terrain with elevation that sometimes block other areas which you can't actually see that far. This kind of make the game more exciting to explore, because you don't know what actually waiting behind that building or around that corner. You probably remember with many games, if you just climb a mountain and then if you see this amazing, beautiful vista and you say, oh my god. So these type of moments, of course it can work the other way around. You get scared and run away in an alley because many NPCs run after you, like zombies. Other things developers can create, like for example, many underground areas. There is something hidden there, and it's really cool discovering them. In some games, of course, we see that, like for Forbidden West, for example, Horizon Forbidden West, we've seen that there are different areas, biomes, that are completely different than each other. So this is really exciting when you traverse a big map, that you feel you got to an area that just feels completely different than the previous one that you visited. Each area and biome might feature different enemies, different NPCs, have something unique to it. It's like you enjoy, for example, traveling the world. You go abroad, you see different countries, different cities, right? It makes you exciting because you see something new that you haven't seen before. Otherwise, if it were the same, it wouldn't be that exciting, right? So, same in video games. It's even become even more exciting when some areas evolves in terms of the narrative and are interconnected with other areas, or maybe some actions that you've done. Right? So for example, if you eliminate some enemy at the previous biome, it actually affects your connection with NPCs in another biome. Now exploring all these won't be fun if, traversal would be a chore. This is why, by the way, you see many developers adding mounts or an item that allows you to easily traverse through a big open world. Not make it very slow by foot. Sometimes really want the sense of speed, or maybe have a really beautiful view of the scene to appreciate, of course, the beautiful world. Sometimes it's better to see things from the top, right, than seeing on the ground, right? You can see some beautiful views, discover things from far. This is a more exciting way of exploring the world. Now, of course, this brings the discussion about quantity over quality, and we've seen in many different games that, for example, the world is really, really big, size-wise, and just nothing interesting to explore, or you just feel too big that you really, when you traverse a big chunk of it, you just feel that nothing there to see. So why not making it smaller, more packed, and less stages to explore, and more exciting because everything is kind of more packed together. It's kind of a thing, many players see this as kind of a stretch out way to increase the playtime of the game, rather than make it more compact, but less time to actually complete it, and more intense of the gameplay experience. Now, for example, in No Man's Sky, we have lots of places to discover, literally endless, but it all felt the same. I mean, each planet felt unique, but you can see that some patterns are repetitive, and players can't ignore them. They are repetitive, and you don't really find those things that are, if they are carefully crafted manually by the game developer, can lead to all these amazing things that I've just mentioned, but in games that are procedurally generated, you can really add all these things and make it really feel believable, really unique and interesting. So this type of pattern, repetitive pattern, this is again not a good repetitive pattern. Some repetitive patterns can be more interesting than others, are easily recognizable by players. They try it, but something just doesn't connect. They feel that this is the same, it's completely different, but it just feels the same thing. So this thing, like more or less of the same, is felt very strongly in the game No Man's Sky. So again, in some ways, one way to avoid these unlimited, pointless possibilities, because again, we have so many things, but none of them really feels special. Now, if you had lots of creative options to the game, for example, Minecraft is a good example, by the way, and you allow players to play with friends, players will create their own story. They will have something to tell. It can be connected with things that are happening in the game, or something completely new they created themselves with their friends. Again, giving players more tools for creative options in the game allows them to have more exciting moments that are completely different than what other players are experiencing. Because again, for me, something, if I just follow the same route of a very predefined missions, for example, in a game, I just feel like that is not that interesting, because I have exactly the same experience, more or less, compared to what other players are experiencing. Basically, I have nothing special to tell, because if I tell it, everybody knows, again, what I experienced, because they experience the same, so it doesn't really feel unique. I can't really share something exciting because I know everybody knows about it, so no stories to tell, right? It's just imagining that your life would be exactly the same as other person's life, so what you're gonna do, what you're gonna tell, well, kind of nothing, right? because you have nothing special to tell. Everything is more or less the same. So again, having the option in open world game to have lots of creativity and give option for players to maybe even deform the place, change it, create a base, make it their own, make really special and NPCs that are probably also unique to them, finding new things, creating your own home, making a unique design, decorating things, makes a good platform for great storytelling for players to tell their friends. I mean, we've seen it in so many games. When I play Animal Crossing New Horizons, I see many players just feeling the urge just to share their creativity, share their home. They want others to come and visit, they share the code, invite other players. You see this is just what makes actually Animal Crossing New Horizons so unique and interesting, because you see other players play, you see what they create, it's just absolutely amazing. Of course, it's true to many other games. So this is something that is very important, but it doesn't have to be in a game, right? But when you add it to a game, option like that, you can see the players just love it and enjoy sharing it. Now, one thing that I really want to see and can really enhance the fun in exploring a world is progressive AR characters. By that I mean not just, I talked with this one, he remembers me from one thing, he told me just one line or two lines different. No, but really, it can be complete many lines of dialogues, maybe thousands of lines, they're completely different. But again, using AI, so we can generate some kind of a dialogue based on all the things that we actually done that the characters is aware of, or just, again, aware of from maybe other NPCs, or, well, based on the interaction with you. It can be something that happened in the world, if you change the world, if you've done something, and it is known, let's say in the community of these AI characters, you're gonna just feel that something has changed on their behavior and the way they interact with you and maybe other NPCs. And just think about it. Right now, all of this is kind of a pre-programmed, very, very simple. Nothing really, maybe you're going to have some few options here and there, but something that fundamentally make NPCs just feel more like real people. And you know that everything you do can actually have an impact. This is like the next gen when it comes to NPC interaction. And I think it's going to be done more and more and more as we progress through the future. But the thing is, if you see right now NPCs, they're kind of like stupid dummies, right? They're really not that interesting, they're kind of boring, same lines. So this is something that can really make a big breakthrough in the way we actually enjoy interacting with NPCs. And I want to see more games like that in the future. So think about it like ever-evolving NPCs, right? So yeah, this is something super exciting. So I really can't wait to see it in open world games. That would be insane. But this to be like an engine for it that really can generate all this type of interaction. But again, it needs to be, of course, relative to the narrative of the game and user interaction in specific games. So it needs to be developed for specific games. But it maybe can be related to some sort of emotions and interaction when it comes to maybe certain animations done, maybe some interactions or text written. It can be even related to the weather. Maybe one NPC doesn't like hot weather, they're gonna stay at home. Well, something actually happened and they actually missed it because of that. So you just create some kind of properties for the NPCs and you just release them to the world and you just create their own narrative that actually you don't know what to expect. Every player will have something different and really it's just going to be a surprise how the NPC will play next. Maybe going to be angry at you, maybe happy with you, maybe going to fall in love with you. You don't know. And that's super, super exciting. And this is something that I really want to see in open world games with lots of populated NPCs. Now, proper navigation in the open world games is very important. You've seen the games that had markers, for example, allowed players in the open world to mark certain areas. Like this game, for example, Pokemon Arceus. So if you find like a rare Pokemon, you want to get it, you can mark it and do other things and go back. Of course, we already have this quest and you can actually track. But the thing is that it's supposed to be very, you need to avoid making traversing the world annoying. Because in many open world games, you're going to be backtracking into different areas and sometimes it's easy to get lost. There are some games that I played that I got lost. I didn't know what to do. And just being in a situation where I don't know where to go and what to do feels frustrating. You just feel lost basically in a place you haven't visited before. So this needs to be addressed in a game and there are many ways to address that. Now, even in games that don't want to actually distract and the immersion of the game, I think like Ghost of Tsushima, right, for example, when you have this wind that actually kind of guide you through the direction, general direction you should go. This is one thing that actually was done good, because it doesn't distract, but still give you a hint where, well, the other thing, for example, just following the main story or maybe a point of interest can be. Now, in many open world games, we see lots of content, some that, for example, let's say side missions, right? That they're called side missions, and basically they're things that you don't have to do. Now, we heard that in Forbidden West, for example, they improve it, so they feel that players will feel that those missions will actually feel more rewarding and it will be exciting to do them. Actually, some of them feel completely different than the main game itself. At least some reviewers actually mentioned that. Now, the thing is, if something is not that necessary, some players will think, well, it's not necessary, so why should I do it? And just focus maybe on the main route. Other players are kind of like more completionists, want to try everything. But again, if you already implement it, it should be something that feels rewarding for the player. It's very, very important and something that can be significant and worth doing. So although it's optional, players will be very motivated to go and try to do whatever these NPCs ask and maybe achieve something great. Oh, not maybe actually, achieve something great. But in a way, I don't personally like seeing NPCs standing and, well, I'm going to interact with it. Sometimes I want to see something more seamless. For example, you find a battle, somebody's need help, and you just join the battle, right? And just helping out and get rewarded for it, rather than just having this dialogue and stop and see this mark, interact, get inside, tracking it, something that is more dynamic and seamless in the open world. So it, again, just feel more seamless and you don't need to feel like, all right, this is a side quest, I'm going to go there, I'm going to do that. Again, so hopefully more of that can be very, very exciting. Now in some ways, when it's designed like that with, tap, take this side quest, tap, take this side quest, it just feels like a job. I wake up in the morning, I log into the game, I need to do this, this and that. So for me, this is not really a fun way to do it. I really want more kind of a seamless side quest experiences in games. Now another thing is related to, of course, story, and we all have to follow a good story, and this can be, of course, there's a theme and there's the story told. Some stories can be, well, just boring to follow. Sometimes I prefer things that are more simpler and evolve over time, rather than having lots of things to understand straight from the beginning. Sometimes the game starts and you have so much story to understand, you don't understand anything. And then immediately after a few minutes, you don't really care about the story, you just skip everything. Because you don't understand, everything just evolves so fast. And because it's open world game, there are so many things to see, we are already overwhelmed with the amount of things we see and the information. So if you keep it simple and just keep it progressing step by step, players will enjoy it even better. So it happens to me many times where I just don't understand anything about the characters. They're already interacting like crazy and fighting with themselves. I don't know what's going on. And from that point on, I really don't care about the story. So really careful planning when it comes to evolving the story, make it interesting is very, very important. So these are a few things that can make games interesting, but just keep in mind that some technologies or some things that can make these type of games more interesting sometimes are costly to developers, maybe take time, and some maybe developers just afraid of maybe trying using them. Maybe it will lead to something that can actually fail. So the thing is that to create those, big developers have the option to create those amazing immersive open world games, but just need to be more daring in my opinion. And sometimes, just go with the safe route, basically. This works, we saw success, why taking a risk? Just see kind of a more or less of the same, and some things that just turn out to be, well, plain boring, unfortunately. So this is it. Of course, if you have anything to add yourself, things that you find in open world games exciting or maybe discouraging to play, let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Also consider subscribing to my channel and give this one a little like, and see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers.